want to reflect on two things. One, on the issue raised by Honorable Mkhaliphi. It is true, all of us are supposed to come to Parliament in full swing. However, I think it is important that all of us understand and acknowledge the shortcomings at the present moment after the parliamentary building has burnt down. I think what I want to suggest now, Honorable Deputy Speaker, is that let's have a team of officials sitting together and check what is available in the precinct. Where can we meet? How many committee rooms can we have? How many can those committee rooms take? How many committee rooms can be enabled to be able to also connect members on a hybrid session? At the moment, no one is opposed to us going full swing. However, we don't have enough space after Parliament bent down. And I think we have to be realistic to that and check where can we work from. So I want to suggest, therefore, that a team must be put together, the team that is going to look at all those logistics. So then in our next meeting, presentation be done to this NAPC on the possible options on how Parliament can work in full swing. But on the next matter that was raised by Honorable Ntlangwini about SONA, and we discussed the matter of SONA, we discussed the matter of numbers. And yesterday, again, we reflected on that to say there is space that has been allocated on the gallery for further additional numbers for members. However, Parliament is not, when we open Parliament, we don't only focus on members of Parliament. There are Chapter 9 institutions and other guests that we usually invite. And therefore, Chair, I want to urge and plead with all of us as members of Parliament here that we have long started planning for the State of the Nation address to make some changes now. It might, within the next 6-7 days that we are to host the SONA, is not very possible. However, I take a point that we have a constitutional obligation to discharge our duties as member of Parliament. That I fully agree. But we must also look at the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Soma, have you got any responses on other matters?
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yes, you may now go ahead, Nat.
Okay. Thank you very much. I wanted to appreciate the program as read by the programming whip. At the footnote of each program, parliamentary program, there's always activities, international activities, or international engagement activities. I wanted to request the programming whip to also read those activities just as a point of emphasis and just to make us alert of the activities that are about to happen. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Ntombela, I'd like us to discuss that. They did indicate
vested interest.
Presenting the Honorable Booker, the style of presentation and emphasis. It is stated there that here are the international relations issues. They are listed here. Honorable Tau, in presenting his report, also refers to, here are the slide that says what committee section is doing, where, when, and so on. They don't go into the details. But let me give Honorable to respond to other issues. I would like to come to the question as well.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. We shall do that once a month, Chair. No problem. But having said that, Chair, the other issues that has been raised has been responded to. The issue of Honorable Swart has been responded to in terms of the lockout, which then is going to be dealt with through the Office of Mr. Klaso, and the members concerned will be advised accordingly. To Chair, the issue of Honorable Ntlangwini that she raised, she started by saying she's not raising the SONA, but the input made by Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, it does respond to that as a way forward. Other than that, Chair, we appreciate the input. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Honorable members, let me explicitly state that these matters that have been raised, including by Honorable Ntlangwini and Honorable Mkhaliphi, were discussed before, and decisions were taken that because of the circumstances we are in, they remain in place. Those decisions have not been changed. And so I think the decision of Cabinet does not immediately have a bearing directly on the arrangements that have been made because of the burning of the assembly and the temporary accommodation we have received in our neighborhood. We must express our appreciation to the city, our neighbor, physically, that is, through the city hall and so on, and that we will not be able to change those decisions. And they were made following discussions with every political party. There may have been differences there, but I think that's the position that we can advise. So as soon as we are able to do differently, we will advise members. The presiding officers are weighed with the reports that are going to emerge, but we are also mindful, and we must emphasize work that is done by virtual. It's in the rules. It's an agreed way of working, as agreed to by the House, that because of the disaster that confronts us, some of the conditions have not changed necessarily, remain in place, and we will do that. The burning of our assembly compounds the problem we as the institutions was facing, but we will change them as soon as we are able to do that. So that will happen soon, but not for purposes of this week and this work that we are doing whilst we are under the current circumstances. But we will evolve as we get further improvements in the work we are doing. Honorable members, that item is dealt with. Any announcements that we should know?
Deputy Speaker, sorry.
Yes, Daddy Cluster.
There are 3 hands from Honorable Sheikh Imam, Honorable
Yes.
Papo,
Yes.
Honorable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition,
Okay.
and the Secretary to Parliament acting. And also would like to just indicate that I've received an indication from the Treasury that the lockups will be physical and not virtual.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that information, the last one. And thank you for pointing out those heads. Please let them go ahead in the order in which you mentioned them. Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I did not want to trouble you this morning. My hand was tired, so I put it down. But anyway, I think I was just wanting to concur. I think the concern that is being raised, it's a good concern. And I think you have addressed it, even though I think maybe we could put more input into it. That what we want to know is, when are we able to go back to absolute normality in terms of the functioning of Parliament, making provision in terms of identifying premises and things, because we know that Parliament is going to take a long time before they deal with it. But of course, given the fact that we are now on adjusted level 1, meaning and children are going back to school, we're normalizing everything in the country, maybe we should be paying more attention to identifying some venue where we could all assemble as members of Parliament and start our normal functions and duties. I think that's where we are wanting to go. And I do appreciate that it's not easy decision. It's going to take a while. You've got to identify them. There's a lot of problems to it. But I think we are exhausted from this COVID-19, and we've missed each other, I think, in that Parliament, in the plenary. So we want to get back there as soon as possible. So the sooner we normalize it, the better it is. That is all I wanted to say. Thank you very much. But Deputy Speaker, there's another thing, and probably not for this particular thing. I just wanted a clarity, and is that, if you remember, we discussed and we approved the increase in the number of minutes, particularly for SONA and things, I just wanted to hear from the table whether they are still aware of it and that's what they're going to be implementing. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Next.
Deputy Speaker,
Yeah.
those of us who have been, the rules say we should operate on a hybrid model, which we amended correctly, as you stated. Those of us who have been in the precinct from June 2020 on the hybrid understood that the programming actually said that committee rooms should be checked whether they can operate, because the hybrid is not only for members, it's also for people we invite, officials and so on, because it also helps in that process. It saves time, it saves costs. So, and unfortunately, the banning of the National Assembly. I can hear you.
Yes, we were not hearing you. Oh, I don't know whether it's me, but I wasn't hearing you at all.
I was saying the way you have actually summarized was correct, because the National Assembly Programming Committee had agreed that committee rooms of Parliament, both in the NCOP and in the NA, should be availed for possibly committees to meet, because the numbers are small. But hybrid was going to be continued, not only for members, it was also going to be continued for officials of government. Sometimes an official is in the Eastern Cape, he can connect to a committee using a Zoom, so that they are able to do their work. They don't come to Parliament and then sometimes they are returned, and it's a waste of resources, because if the things they are presenting are not what the committee want and they are not physically there, they should then be able to amend what they are saying and still link up whoever we invite, South Africans and so on. So the Zoom, the hybrid method of working was agreed that it will work that way. Second is that depending of Parliament, of the National Assembly part of Parliament, because Parliament is both NCOP and the NA, has actually complicated our situation in terms of space, both office space and also workspaces for us to actually gather in committee form and in plenary form. Hence the arrangements which have been made for SONA and for the debate and so on. The NAPC then said that there are still spaces in Parliament, like the Good Hope Parliament, where we can still continue on a hybrid. The difficulty is that the bulk of members don't have office space in the National Assembly. That is the governing party. There's also the NFP, there's Good, and so on, who don't have workspace. And the parliamentary team was then looking at workspaces so that we expand. We've always been interested in expanding, bearing the issue of space. I don't think the rule which says workplaces, it means that there's no physical distancing, we must ignore it. We are not sure who is vaccinated and not. And by the way, Parliament has not taken a view on that matter of unvaccinated people without medical reasons, who just refuse to vaccinate without any medical reasons. So there are a number of issues which the institution has to look at. Now, if we say we all come, majority of us, it's not SONA, where are people going to work from in terms of office space? And we have not taken a decision. The decision and the amendment we still have, the dispensation we still have, is that the seat of Parliament is in Cape Town. And that's the status quo. So my view is that what you have, your summary, is actually, because we still have work in progress. Because there are other issues which have not been resolved. We can't just simply decide, no, we'll all come back. People can be on passages and corridors of the National Assembly. I don't agree with that, but your summary is actually correct.
Okay. No, thank you very much. Honorable members, is there anybody else who's still on the line?
My hand was after Honorable Papo, Deputy Speaker.
Please go ahead.
Just very briefly on my side, look, I think Honorable Papo raises an important point about the fact that we should not necessarily throw the baby with the bathwater in terms of hybrid strategies. I think the COVID-19 pandemic has given us an opportunity to innovate so that we may be able to use some cost-cutting and cost-saving measures to be able to do the work of Parliament. But, Deputy Speaker, I think it is important to ask the NAPC for a solid timeline on the alternative venues, because it's quite important that if we're asking the country to go back to work, that we show leadership and we go back to work in earnest as well. And number two, we mustn't let this fire, Deputy Speaker, already dampen the work of Parliament further than COVID-19 has. And I think we should have the resolve to say that we want to make sure that Parliament is seen to be open and is entirely open for business so that we can get to the business of the day of serving South Africans. But I don't think that that necessarily means that hybrid mechanisms can't be used to save costs and to be a lot more efficient. Thanks. Important, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thanks.
Yes, programming, Honorable Gwahube, will receive information about what needs to happen once the decisions in the executive leadership of Parliament, given all the issues that you have also yourself raised, have been considered. And I do want to suggest that we shouldn't assume that the public is not itself clear that because of what has happened, the foundations for working in hybrid form has not produced possibilities that we were not able to, or were moving towards very slowly at the pace of a village cow, as I would like to say. So the assumption that people think we are working only when we are all together in the same place in the old way is an incorrect assumption. I do think that we must continue to recognize that institutions, including in the private sector, are adopting in a way that enables us to be more available to the people better than we were without the hybrid system of working together and so on. So we can do both. This is why even legislatively, some of the communication that otherwise would have been manual has translated to being legal and appropriate on cyberspace and therefore appropriate elsewhere as well. I do hear you, members. We are considering this, and as I said at the beginning, that as soon as we have enough evidence to suggest further changes, this will be in the programming committee and other committees of Parliament will be informed about those decisions so that we are mindful of the wishes of members, committees, and the environment in which we are operating to take advantage of opportunities, but also to work better, innovatively and creatively, as some of you are already saying. Honorable members, I think who else was going to come back? I'd like us to conclude this thing if there are no announcements.
Deputy Speaker, allow me if...
Yes, yes, Acting Secretary.
Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker, and good morning, honorable members. My point is just on Dr. Swart's question about the lockup. I do want to confirm that. We did, the request came and we sent it to National Treasury. We have given them space for a physical lockup, media lockup, which is in the Max Building, M46, Max Building 314, Max Building 514, and those 515. We will provide those details to everybody. Yeah.
We don't need to just give those details like you are doing now. I think it was adequate that the decision that it's physical would have been adequate. Those who are involved would then be informed. Thank you very much, nevertheless.
Thanks.
Honorable members.
Deputy Speaker.
I can't hear that.
Deputy Speaker, it's Honorable Shangweni.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I think also just pertaining to the lockup, we must also give a clear indication to National Treasury that because part of the lockup is for members of the Finance Committee and the members of the Appropriations Committee to get the budget speech before it's actually read in the House. And there was some couple of times that we didn't get the budget speech in the lockup venues or in the lockup situation. So that needs to be clear that we need to have that, because that is part of why we are having the lockup. And if that doesn't happen, then why are we still having a lockup if they don't do as the rules and the rules permit. And then secondly, Deputy Speaker, I want to agree on the member of the DA that we need to have clear time frames as to say when is Parliament opening in full swing for members of Parliament. Of course, work needs to be done in research. We are not myopic about it, Mr. Papo. Work research needs to be done in terms of when our Parliament going back in full swing. Like it or not, we need to get to Parliament, and work needs to be done in full swing from Parliament, and then. So we need clear time frames and as to see when are we opening Parliament in full swing. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Okay. Honourable members, thank you very much.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, before you close, an announcement.
Yes,
Honourable Deputy Speaker. Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I will not repeat what you have already summarized nicely with regard to the full attendance in Parliament. Honourable Deputy Speaker, I want to propose to announce that as the Chief Whips Forum, we should have a meeting today, either today or tomorrow morning, today at 5 o'clock, so that we can finalize the seating arrangements for SONA.
Okay.
If
right.
it's tomorrow, it should be at 8:30 before committee starts. Then if it's today in the afternoon, we'll communicate in the Chief Whips Forum group that we have this meeting. The Chief Whips will respond to that so that we finalize the sitting arrangement. Thank you very much.
Okay. The time of the meeting and place of meeting will be communicated through your usual means. Thank you very much. Honourable members, thank you very much. We will respond to the issues that has been raised here and emphasize others that perhaps because of time we can't go into again, but we appreciate the consensus and the way in which the issues have been raised. We will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Deputy Speaker. Some of us have been in Parliament since June 2020. We're not going to be from March to Parliament.
Relax, chill. And Kangwini must come full time to Parliament.
They've been sitting in their bunkers. They want to now frog matches. We've been there.
Take a chill pill, Papo. Take a chill pill.